It's time for some horseshoe theory. This one's long though. Fucking hell. All right. Can I bail out of this dickhead if he just does his regular bullshit? Can we do half this thing? These long ass pieces. I get stuck in these fucking ballads, man. I reserve the right to bow out after 10 minutes because I think everything they're gonna say will be said in that time period.
And we're talking about what Kissinger had to say about.
By the way, let's let this sink in for a moment. Jimmy Dore, with a fresh dye job, he must be going on Tucker, is agreeing with Henry Kissinger. He's agreeing with what Henry Kissinger said on in Business Insider. Can we recognize what the fuck that is? So Jimmy Dore is sides with Kissinger. Mm-hmm.
About Ukraine. Kissinger says Ukraine must give up land to Russia, warns West not to seek to humiliate Putin with defeat.
Yeah, it's because he doesn't have a dog in that fight in stabilizing the Russian control over oil and gas in Europe.
And
fuck him. No.
That picture looks like he just let out a very long fart.
No, it doesn't. I mean, as it looks like he's telling a dirty joke, and he's just at the punchline.
Henry Kissinger said Ukraine must concede territory to Russia. How is this going to end? How is this going to end?
It's going to end with the Ukrainians driving the Russians out of Crimea and Donbass and reclaiming their borders pre-2014. That's how it's going to end. And with the Russian administration, that Putin either being deposed or it shattering their stranglehold on Russia as a federation.
Henry Kissinger.
Fuck him.
Not known to be a soft lefty.
Yeah, neither are you. I mean, like, at what point, by the way, can we just agree, like Jimmy talks about Aaron Mate and calls him anti-war when all he is pro-surrender. He's not anti-war because he's all for whatever the fuck the Russians want to do now and forever. That they had the right to do what they did in 2014. They had the right to do it again in 2022. What makes you think that Jimmy and Aaron Mate or any of these fuckheads are going to not agree that, well, Russia has to push further into Kiev from the area they claimed? Yes, P.S. Putin is sick and dying.
Says that Ukraine must concede territory to Russia to end the war and warned that the West that a humiliating defeat for Russia could result in wider destabilization. So Putin's gotten to Kissinger too, I guess. That's what this.
No, he just believes in an old world order, and he thinks that the threat of Russia, that mutual assured destruction is an envelope under which Russia can do whatever the fuck it wants to anybody. That Chechnya and Georgia, the expansion into that area, are next. That Belarus expanding into Latvia and Lithuania with Russia's help will be the next stage of this. That Putin's look at the old maps that include parts of Poland and shit, that's just natural. And that it's okay. The Statesman, now 98.
The Statesman, now 98, made the comments in a conference at the World Economic Forum in Davos, the WEF. You know those people?
Yes, apparently you agree now with what Kissinger says at the World Economic Forum in Davos. Lefty says what?
On Monday, the Telegraph reported. Ian Bremmer says, I've never seen a Davos crowd give a standing ovation for a virtual speech before. Zelensky, this guy. He's like...
Yeah, again, why is it funny that they're giving him a standing ovation? Why is it worth mockery? That I don't understand. Like, people are legit fucking dying in Ukraine, fighting for their country. Russia is digging mass graves. They're strafe bombing civilian areas. They're raping women and children. Like, this isn't even a question anymore. And yet the idea that they're giving Zelensky applause for being a smaller country and pushing back against Russia by themselves. I mean, they're getting weapons from us and they're getting some intel like satellite stuff, both from us and shit they can buy on the fucking internet. Like OSINT in this case is the real hero of Russia, pushing back against Russia's invasion of Ukraine is OSINT, the open source intelligence that's now available. They're like people in Poland flying like consumer drones over the area and then just emailing pictures of where Russians are in the Black Sea and in Crimea and in the Donbass and the Donetsk and Luhansk areas.
It's like the Bono of politics now. It shows up in his T-shirt because he's fighting a war, and
I'm sorry, you've only got one shirt with French cuffs this week. The fuck, he's doing stuff. He takes off his gear to sit down. He just doesn't want to do the fucking show in a bulletproof vest. Anytime he goes anywhere, he has to wear flak jackets because the Russians want to assassinate him.
Everybody loves just.
What do you mean what is worth mocking of this dude? For real.
So Kissinger says that Kissinger was the architect of the détente with China under Nixon.
Yeah, which was great. Didn't fuck America's business or security interests at all. It's not like China's become a horrifying dragon over the years because of how they managed that or decided not to.
Administration. And he's one of the world's foremost advocates of realpolitik, in which nations put morals and principles aside to achieve their aims.
Right. So fuck look, what we want is stability in the region for business. And if it requires a bunch of dead Ukrainians and allowing the Russians to salami slice their way across Europe, fuck it, who cares? This is straight up old school Chamberlain bullshit. And Jimmy thinks they deserve it because they're fucking Nazis.
So that's good that Kissinger is giving them a reason to seek peace that doesn't involve morals or principles, right? He's just being realpolitik about it.
That's what you're arguing. Jimmy has the same argument as Marjorie Taylor Greene about Russia and Ukraine. The fucking exact same argument.
Prolonged war is a shitty idea outside of any concern for needless loss of human life or any of that other fake politic hippie shit, right? You need a good non-moral reason to not do it. He goes on, negotiations.
Well, no, you would fight on to keep them from killing your people. They have said they are going to wipe out Ukrainians as a people.
Need to begin in the next 2 months.
Yeah, that's because in the next 2 months, Russia will run out of the ability to fight.
Before it creates upheavals and tensions that will not be easily overcome.
We're already past that point.
Ideally, the dividing line should be a return to the status quo ante.
Yeah, go back to just letting Russia keep whatever it's got so far.
That's Kissinger. Pursuing the war beyond that point would not be about the freedom of Ukraine, but a new war against Russia itself.
What? There is no new war against Russia itself. They started this in 2014. World War I and World War II both went on for years. This is like saying, look, giving back parts of Poland to Poland will be a new war against Germany. Shut the fuck up.
Wow. Do you think?
What do you mean, wow? All right, what have we seen so far? We've seen Jimmy mock Zelensky as a clown and a showboater and calling him Bono and saying that we should listen to Henry fucking Kissinger.
I think the Davos guests were rolling their eyes at that. Yeah, no shit, Kissinger. The whole thing is a proxy war with Russia. You think we give a shit about Ukraine? Most of us just now found out that it's not called the Ukraine.
No, we didn't. He's catching shit about it. That's a tell. Jimmy gets shit about it occasionally because the Ukraine is what the Russians say about it, and he's getting notes from people going, dude, when you call it the Ukraine, that's what they call it on RT because that means it's a it's a territory owned by the Russians, the Ukraine, kind of like the the Rockies in the United States.
Okay. Kissinger's comments imply that Ukraine should accept a peace deal to restore the situation.
What peace deal? There is none. The only deal offered by Russia is an extension of the land they already had pre-2014 and the entire southern border. Let me. All right, hold on one second. Okay, hold on. All right, here we go. If I may, let's see. I'm trying to find a video. Hold on. There's a bunch of new stuff, so there you go. Here's this is phosphorus munitions being used against Ukrainians in Ukraine by the Russians. I'm sure Jimmy will have a video about this being a false flag and that the Ukrainians bombed themselves with phosphorus rounds. But there's another thing. Hold on, if I may. I'm looking for one particular one. Here's here you go. Hold on. This is a stretch right here.
Позиционируя вот как показывают и как представляют свои войска.
Let me back this up. Based on Ukraine's representations
Вот как показывают и как
of the way its
представляют
forces are
свои
positioned
войска Украины сопредельно
on the eastern front,
на Восточном фронте до 35
there are up to 35 nationalist battalions. That is a very large force. They are very motivated. He's talking about the Ukrainians. You can't change or convince them. They have to be dealt with until the victorious end. We have to either destroy them or wait until they sustain major injuries and mass casualties. We have to convince them through force, which is the military diplomatic way. On the southern front, forces are concentrated south of Kherson towards the estuary. There are some successes, but Marines are stationed there. There was a training center of special forces. Those military units are very strong. They're also very motivated. They should be dealt with only through force, meaning they have to be physically destroyed. There is no other way. But there are certain successes, like Eduardo Basurin said, we're wrapping around Avdiivka, but there's no sense to enter large towns right now. All of them are mined. All schools, hospitals, and artillery positions. Solely to put up our flag in the center of town. We would risk major losses. So that wouldn't make any sense. To the south and southwest of Mykolaiv, to the northwest of Mykolaiv. Now we're using artillery and rocket launchers, howitzers and cannons, and some air force.
или артиллерийских крупнокалиберных систем, гаубицы, пушки, гаубицы, там, допустим, да, и
Not much Air
немножко
Force,
авиации.
mainly the
Но
Black
очень
Sea
мало,
Fleet,
надо сказать. Больше работают
which can only be
черноморские.
helicopters because we
Ракеты.
fucked up their
Это
their
понятно,
one
что
aircraft
выгоднее
carrier.
даже.
It's even more
Эффективнее.
beneficial in
И
Kharkiv
направление еще там есть. Это
in the north,
вот если Кривой Рог представить себе на севере, да, то
the south and southwest of it.
южнее
He's just
его,
pointing out where they've got some
тоже очень
strategic
важное
strongholds and they've got some
Почему
ships they
не
can fire
идем
some long range
на
shit.
Кривой Рог?
Why aren't we going into the
Причина
Kharkiv?
первая, что это большой
It's a
город,
big city, which is too much for us to
он
handle.
пока нам, извините, не по зубам в том плане, чтобы не
She doesn't like the sound of that.
свои
It's a big city, which is too much for us to handle,
Вот
without
такая
jeopardizing our armed
обстановка,
forces.
военная обстановка, вот на сегодняшний час этого времени.
These
да,
are the current
практически
military
существует.
circumstances.
И
So, right now, the Ukrainians are not losing. If anything, the exact opposite is true. They are doing quite well. Let's see, brutal independence in Ukraine. Let's see. This is how they view the Ukrainians. Hold on one second, if I may. Whoops, I scrolled down. Sorry. Here you go. This is they're talking about. This is after McDonald's left. This is their reaction to just not having McDonald's.
American
American children
нечего
have
есть.
nothing to eat,
А
and
украинским
Ukrainian children are
детям
getting
в это
shells
время
and
доставляют
bombs.
снаряды и бомбы.
Hold on, wait. I gotta bring the audio down on this guy a little bit. It's fun to hear a little bit of it, but which are supposed to somehow secure their future, which is most interesting.
У них не будет,
They'll have no fathers, no homes, a burned out country,
у них не будет домов, у них будет выжженная страна.
and they'll have nothing that American children
Что
have.
есть у американских детей, у них не будет. И это так и выглядит благо, которое хотят
That's what
принести
Western countries bring to Ukrainian
западные
people.
страны украинскому народу.
Зато у них Макдональдс будет.
But they'll have McDonald's.
Да, но он, видимо, будет обгорен
Yes, but it will be burnt due to what's going on.
в связи с тем, что происходит.
And they're laughing about it. They're not stopping. The whole idea, let's see. Hold on one second. There's so much to this shit. Yeah, here you go. This is, I think, this kind of answers Jimmy's bullshit pretty well too. Hold on, this guy right here. So, you back this up. Gotta bring, yeah, the audio's still down there. Good. Okay. The troops of LPR and DPR are fighting for their land. So this is the whole, like, these are these isolated regions, you know, that they said were independent right before they invaded. And now I have a question. What would the Ukrainian territorial defense fight for in these regions? As if Donetsk and Luhansk and Crimea weren't originally Ukrainian territory and these people aren't enraged that it was taken and handed over to Russians. It's like saying, I don't know why the Palestinians keep fighting. By the way, there's a lot of parallels between the problems people have with Israel acting towards Palestine and the Palestinian people and Russia's bullshit in Donetsk and Luhansk and Crimea. So there's incredible parallels, like the promising not to expand and then expanding, killing the locals, driving them out, taking over their homes, all that kind of shit that's been happening since like early 2014. Normally, people like Jimmy and his buddies would all argue that they side with the Palestinians. And yet in this situation, because it's Russia, somehow they get a fucking pass. At that point, you're like, well, maybe it is some sort of bizarre anti-Semitic thing. Because they hate Israel for doing this, but they don't hate Russia for doing the same fucking thing. Because I don't think you don't have to be anti-Semitic to not like what Israel does in the Palestinian territories. Pretty cut and dry for me. But when you have a problem with it, and you don't have a problem with this, I think that's the definition of being anti-Semitic about it. Okay, none of it is their land. None of it is their. So LPR, DPR, none of it's their land. Because why? Because in 2014, which was not that fucking long ago, these assholes invaded, killed or deported all the Ukrainians in that area that wouldn't vote their way, threatened them with death or murdered them, and then brought in shit tons of Russians to fill in the city. It's ours now. And the Russian army is fighting for its land. We're telling people, come to your senses. Well then, sorry, why is it the Russian army fighting for the Luhansk and Donetsk independent regions? Aren't those people their own country right now? They're independent regions. That was all bullshit. Remember who you are. Look what's being done to you. Look who conquered you. The Ukrainians conquered the Russian people in Ukraine. Remember your great past. Remember your Germanic roots. Remember that you are the tribe of Germania. The Thule Society will lead you. This dude with his fucking Beatles jacket kills me because he wears it a lot. Wake up, stop lying to yourself. What are they lying to themselves about? That their Ukrainian identity exists. By the way, if we have trolls in here, welcome trolls. Feel free to write something as long as it's not grotesque. I know that takes work for a lot of you. Try to avoid racial epithets and hate language, but you can jibber jabber about your political problems all you want because it lets the algorithm know that I am interesting. It helps immensely. I do not have dirt on my lip. I have scruff. Leave me alone. Why are they making up a language for you? So Ukrainian as a language has to be wiped out. You're a Russian. Do you need the language Zelensky is trying to speak? Meaning Ukrainian? Look at the history that is being made up for you. This guy's not happy. That guy's fairly miserable. Russian Steve Jobs is having a rough day. But that's not all. Also, we are in Russophone 14, tracking devices don't weigh heavily on you. Look at the history that is being made up for you. The religion that is being made up for you. So you're supposed to be Eastern Orthodox Russian Church or whatever. That's why the people are for us. They aren't. Westerners say they don't greet you with flowers. Yes, they are. Big time. Yes, that's what's happening. They're being greeted with flowers. Apparently, flowers, the word for flowers and the words for javelin are the same in Russian. Despite their fear, they're welcoming us. You mean when... All right. Like, even she's not buying this shit. By the way, I think she was fantastic as one of the evil princess's helpers in Flash Gordon. Flash! Ah! Thank you, Mark. When you understand that we're never leaving. Do you see that? When they understand that we're never leaving. Fucking hell. We're never leaving. Ukrainians don't exist. Their language is fake. They have no right to that land. They're on Russian land now. They're never going to take Luhansk and Donetsk because that's full of Russians because we filled it with Russians after we drove them out. And we're going to do the same thing to the rest of the fucking country. And Jimmy's response is, I mean, isn't it safer if you just lay back and take it?
What it was before February 24th, where Russia formally controlled the Crimea Peninsula.
No, they did not formally control it. They stole it, and they've been sitting on it. That's like saying I mean, say what you will, but the Israelis formally control the Golan Heights and the Palestinian territories. That they put a wall around it. It's their wall. I mean, they control it.
And informally controlled part of Donetsk region in eastern Ukraine. That's called the Donbass. Okay.
Informally. But that's his code word for they murdered all the Ukrainians that lived there, moved in a bunch of Russians, and stole the territory.
And Ukraine officials have opposed the idea that they should give up any territory.
Right. Weird. Fucking and P.S. fuck the Palestinians, right, Jimmy?
Right. You know why?
Because they know they can win?
Because the Nazis in Ukraine will kill them.
What? The Nazis in Ukraine will kill the Ukrainian officials if they don't seize back Crimea? What the shit? What? Like he's, I guess you got to give him some credit for consistency as the hobgoblin of his particular little mind. But that is incredibly fucked up. So they're only, the Ukrainians are only fighting for their land because the 9 Nazis that used to be part of the Azov battalion, who are most likely dead, by the way, killed early and often.
If they say they should do that. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky said Ukraine
Volodymyr. Voldemort. Fuck you.
Would only accept Russia giving up all claims to land in Ukraine and staging a total withdrawal. So,
Again, I stand by my Palestinian-Israeli parallel, where Jimmy just doesn't give a fuck. Apparently only has a problem when the Israelis do it, so it's a Jew thing.
he has to say that or he's going to be killed by the Nazis. That's not how it's ending.
Yes, it is. That is exactly how it's ending. Jimmy is full of shit. He's not paying attention to any of it except his own little echo chamber of people that are not following this at all.
I'll tell you, I can guarantee you, this is not how the war is ending.
Okay, put a pin in that, because I'm going to go with that's exactly what's going to happen.
It's not happening that way. The way it's going to happen is whatever Vladimir Putin wants, that's how it's going to end.
What? Well, apparently Vladimir Putin wants it to end with him on an operating table, getting a section of his abdomen cut out and fighting blood cancer while he sucks back Pervitin and shakes himself into oblivion. What the it will end the way Vladimir Putin wants it to end. Jesus Christ. What do you got to do to get your shit played in Russia? Yeah, exactly, Anthony. Slava Ukraine. What? I mean, how lost do you fucking have to be? That's like, I mean, imagine Jimmy saying, the Palestinians can bitch all they want, but it's, you know how this is going to end? It's going to end like Netanyahu wants it to end, okay? Imagine that, because that's basically what you're talking about. What the fuck?
And it's going to end with Ukraine ceding those territories.
No, it isn't.
Kissinger in his
No, it fucking isn't.
remarks said that Russia had been an essential part of Europe for 400 years.
Oh, by the way, Jimmy cuts these quotes out, puts them in his little, he uses Keynote, or gives these quotes to whoever is, his producer he doesn't name or somebody that he bitches about. They put them in there for him. And these are his highlighted. Like when you would normally do, editorial content like this, you would put my emphasis added. Business Insider did not make this text red, just for the record.
Helping balance the power structure at crucial times. He argued that the West should not risk pushing Russia into closer alliance with China.
Why? I mean, I showed you guys on the morning show yesterday, China's fucked right now. China's in a horrible state. They have territorial disputes with Russia. They can get as close as they fucking want. As Joe Biden was saying, good luck in your senior year. We don't, as a matter of fact, letting these two assholes develop their own issues between each other, between Russia and China, is good for the rest of the world. Imagine you're on a playground and the two biggest bullies start beating the rat fuck out of each other because they're like, hey, let's join up and beat up these kids. And one of them's like, absolutely, I'll go first. What do you mean you'll go first? I'm going first. No, fuck you, I'm going first. And then they start punching themselves, and all the kids they were planning on bullying are standing around going, you want to go to lunch? That's what we're talking about. By the way, Jimmy knows nothing about Chinese politics. Jimmy knows nothing about Russian politics. Jimmy knows nothing about Chinese demographics or economics. He doesn't know anything about Russian economics or demographics. None of that shit. Nothing. What he knows is what he knows is that he wants Ukraine to lose because they have to now because he's all in on this. He's backed this pony to the end.
I hope the Ukrainians will match the heroism that they have shown with wisdom, Kissinger said, adding that Ukraine's proper place was as a natural buffer
Neutral
state rather than a fully integrated part of Europe.
Hey, fucko, you don't get to make that decision. Finland isn't a natural buffer state that's not fully integrated into Europe. Why the fuck would Ukraine have to do that? Simply because they are materially connected to both. Why? Because Finland they're connected to Russia and they have to use boats to get to Europe, essentially proper? Like, yeah, exactly. Proper place according to who? I got news for you. How about this? I'm going to throw this idea. Russia, in its current form as a federation, has no proper place on Earth as a functioning system at all. It's a gangster kleptocracy based on oil and gas, and it's a threat to the natural order of the world and the rules-based order that we've all been operating in. That's like saying that Ukraine has a responsibility to be the bars on the jail that keep these criminals inside. That's not the fucking place that they chose. And it's not your place to tell them. Yeah, right. Israel's a buffer between Syria and Egypt. That's exactly right, Mark. Get out of here with this, like these fuckers. Ugh.
Wow, so now he's quoting from the Soft on Putin playbook. How does he
Right.
not get that World War III is worth it if it hurts that one guy we hate named Putin?
And look how Jimmy actually thinks that's what this is. That this is the whole world is reacting to this situation the way they are because they have Putin derangement syndrome. That bloated man bad. That's what he thinks this is. Not that these assholes invaded a sovereign country and there is no reason to believe they will stop there if we don't stop them and if the Ukrainians can't be supported in stopping them. Ask Moldova, you fuck. And again, I don't know what the douchebag smile part of this is. I don't get it. To quote Andrew Dice Clay in Ford Fairlane, the much maligned but in many ways perfect film, the fuck is this asshole smiling about?
Okay, hold on. In recent months, cracks have been showing in the Western alliance against Russian aggression.
No, it hasn't.
With isolationist Republican lawmakers in the U.S. opposing a $40 billion aid package to Ukraine.
Yes, that's where MTG overlaps with him. And by the way, one Republican held it up. It went through. Everybody else signed up for it. One guy was holding it up.
And Hungary stymieing European Union attempts to blockade Russian oil.
Because they wanted concessions, and they got them.
As inflation creeps up, public opposition to the war may also increase.
Yeah, and so Jimmy's arguing that money is a good reason to just let Russians rape and murder Ukrainians.
Isolationists, the anti-vaxxers.
Thank you, 250. Okay, thank you for the ad time. I appreciate that. And Salty Sylvester, thanks for gifting the subs. You guys are lovely. Right on.
Of statecraft, how I hate them.
In recent, yeah, it's a flat earther response.
The isolationist. And here's what friend of the show, Jackson Hinkle, says. Speaking at the World Economic Forum, Henry Kissinger said the Ukraine should cede territory to Russia to help end the invasion. Kissinger made this claim not because he's a Russian asset, but because he understands that Europe's economy is beginning to implode.
Sorry, there was supply shock and CPI inflation already before this shit happened. And Europe ultimately decoupling from Russian oil and gas is a positive thing, not a negative. It will speed up that process. But your economy imploding because you were overly reliant on Russia when they have attacked and seized territory from Chechnya, from Georgia, from Ukraine now, in a way that it's just wars of attrition. Just anybody in the way just deserves to fucking die. Also, like, Jimmy will go on and on about how like drone strikes from the U.S. or military actions and everything that Assange has shown proves that the United States is foul. It's never does anything good in the world and deserves to be lambasted at every turn. It is the source of all evil in the world. But Russia can roll into Crimea or Afghanistan for that matter, or Georgia or Ukraine, and they kind of have to, you know, because there's Nazis and there's lots of Nazis there and the Nazis there. Meanwhile, the United States, because of because of what we do, let's see. There we go. Yeah, here you go. Jimmy thinks that they have the right to invade because there's Nazis there, right? Remember that? The Nazis. That's the reason why Russia has every right to attack Ukraine. There's like 29 Nazis there. Most of them are dead now. They died early in the battle. If they were even old, if they weren't too old to fight, because the stories he's using a long time ago are, from years ago. Meanwhile, this is the Houthis in 2021. I've shown you guys this, some of you guys this before. These are the Houthi rebels in Yemen that America has, helped Saudi Arabia push back against.
Every time you see this logo, think about one thing.
I'm thinking about whatever.
All of your work.
Yeah, see that? They're all yelling death to America, death to the Jews. The whole thing is death to America, death to Israel, curse the Jews. That's what they're doing while they're doing the Nazi. So according to the Jimmy Dore doctrine, America and Saudi Arabia have every right to invade Yemen and level it. And even if we want to get Syrian and Chechen fighters to come in and rape everybody, we're allowed to do that because these guys exist there right now. Not the 29 dudes part of the Azov battalion in 2014, like I said, who are dead now. And who have been, and the process they've done to get rid of corruption and get rid of the neo-Nazis in their country. But just the existence of these guys, according to Jimmy Dore, it gives the U.S. government and the Saudis the right to level Yemen, take it over. Because say what you will about your beliefs about the Azov battalion, but they sure as fuck aren't out in town squares giving Nazi salutes. Are they now?
So let me bring in Chris Hedges on this. Now, Chris Hedges knows a thing or two about things.
Yeah, he used to have a show on RT, and he's still pissed that it got removed, even though he has copies of all of his shows and he could post the stuff that isn't, fuck the Ukrainians, they deserve to be raped and murdered videos. I'm sure he has a couple, but the majority of his stuff, his interviews with Snowden and stuff, he could post them online if he wanted to on his own channel, but I think RT will sue him. And who wants to be in a lawsuit with Russia in the middle of the Ukraine war?
And what do you make of Kissinger coming out and saying this? Why would he be unleashed to tell the truth?
Because, as always, he's had financial reasons for why he wants to do these things, that the economic stability of things is more important to him than the morality of it. Same with you, same with Chris Hedges.
Because he comes out of a long history of...
Because he's fucking old.
Détente and Cold War relations. George Kennan, the great Soviet...
It's easy to believe that he could be suckered into believing what Xi Jinping or what Vladimir Putin say when they've been lying for decades.
They all understood that we shouldn't expand NATO.
Fuck off.
Beyond the borders of a unified Germany. At the time, Kennan...
Bullshit. This is, we've done this. 1997, NATO and Russia signed a pact that allows any country that wants to join NATO, and no country that doesn't want to join doesn't have to. And that Russia would partake in NATO security alliance protocols because their biggest concern was Middle Eastern terrorism at that point.
Live long enough to decry the expansion of NATO as the greatest mistake of the Cold War era.
Gibberish. Bullshit.
The balance of power politics, which, by the way, is what was disrupted in the Middle East. Iran and Iraq used to balance each other out. And then, of course, we went in there and essentially gave the Iraqi governments to the Shia and made it a province of Iran.
So our problem is that now Iran and Iraq aren't at war with each other directly, and them being at war with each other used to keep everybody on their heels in the Middle East so that we could come in and take whatever we needed. And Chris Hedges is arguing that that was a good thing. Excuse me. I would prefer if you would not refer to Jimmy Dore as a banana head. That's just rude, and I won't fucking have it. It's just that, I mean, of all things that what are you fucking talking about, you banana head? I'd like to show you what a real show's all about. I'm a banana head. I'm glad to do it all day long. Hey, it's Chris Hedges, everybody. I know this asshole. He used to be on RT all the time because he couldn't get on a show in the United States because he had all these anti-Semitic things to say about Jews back in the day, I guess.
And so Kissinger's going back to that old playbook.
I'm going back to that old playbook, that fine old playbook where we're playing with a book by ourselves alone in our room.
Of making sure that there are
Quick, answer the question.
There never is an alliance formed.
No, you never want an alliance. You want everybody but us to be fighting each other and but never actually accomplishing anything. God forbid we have stable fucking borders. What we want is these people at each other's throats, right, Chris?
Between China and Russia.
Yeah.
And during the old Soviet Union.
Yeah. You used to have Iran and Iraq fighting each other and we could fuck around all we wanted. And now there are alliances there and we gotta actually negotiate with people. What fuck is that? Next thing you know, the Chinese and the Russians will start forming an alliance. We'll have to negotiate with them as a bloc about what? I don't know, because we're not going to want anything from either one of those fucking places unless you want a shitty electronic covered in COVID.
Especially when Mao visited, he felt that Stalin didn't treat him with appropriate respect. And
yeah, I remember that. That's great, man. Yeah, way to be up on current events. Mao, yeah, sure. Go ahead. Tell us more about Mao. The Putin Mao.
So that's always been part of the kind of geopolitical game, and that's where he's coming. I hate to agree with anything Kissinger says.
Too late.
He of course, alone should spend the rest of his life in prison for what he did in 1970.
Yeah, you're agreeing with a guy who you believe should be put in prison for the rest of his known fucking life. That's great. Way to be consistent in your values, dipshit.
3 against Salvador Allende and the Chilean people. But he's right.
But he's right about this. Maybe he was right about that too. Maybe I'm starting to rethink my whole thing about Salvadorian.
He's right. That's how it's going to end.
I'm sorry. I just refuse to take any of this bullshit seriously.
But this is, and I think even the very cynical policymakers in Washington know that's how it's going to end. But
no, they don't.
They pump all.
Believe me, this pains me to say, dickhead, to call you a dickhead, considering my status in life. But fuck off with this nonsense.
These weapons into the Ukraine.
Also, get your bookshelf in order, asshole. I'm guessing you haven't touched any of those in ages.
To essentially degrade to Russia's military, to create a kind of another Chechnya or the old Afghanistan, where the Soviet occupation forces fought the jihadists who became the Taliban, who we funded under Carter. And so...
Right. Because they were freedom fighters at that time, and we kept it so fucking secret that at the end of the war, they thought we were just another enemy. We were so good at hiding the fact that we were helping them, they didn't even know where the weapons were coming from.
He's going...
We're not going to have that problem in Ukraine, asshole. It's on the news.
Back to that old playbook, and he does happen to be right. But these current...
Get on with it. Just say the Ukrainians deserve it, and you want them to get it where it hurt. I'm sorry. When I bob up and down like that, it's quite frankly, it's a little too saucy. If you have any little kitties, you might want to leave the room. This show is definitely not made for children.
Neoconservatives, liberal interventionists, all kind of.
Yeah, I said whatever. Buzzword, jargon, buzzword. The whole point I'm trying to make is leave Putin alone. He's at it too hard. His life is. You don't understand. All he wants to do is put his country back together. He wants to Humpty Dumpty this motherfucker.
Kind of fused into one. See this as a wonderful opportunity to.
What? To what? Save the Ukrainian people and let them have their country back at the borders that they deserve and that they've had forever until they were invaded in 2014? Nah, I'm fucking with you.
To certainly cripple Russia, both in terms of sanctions and in terms of its military capabilities.
All of which is working.
The sanctions are clearly imposed, by the way, to get rid of Putin.
Right.
But Kissinger's right. If it backfires, the consequences, and I think it will backfire,
yeah, I know, because you agree with Henry Kissinger. Now, here, I'm going to float this for a second. But if you wait for a second, you might find out, you might learn something as you come on around. I'm a banana, and I'm singing a song, and I look a little bit like a big yellow schlong. But let me tell you a story about Russia right now. A lot of people have been wanting to get rid of Putin for a long time, but he's quite frankly been a formidable force because he's been using a vice-like grip to control the country for a very long time. But now he's sick and he's making stupid decisions. And post-COVID, in his isolation, he was apparently watching a bunch of YouTube videos that made him yearn for old Russia to come back. And he decided that this is his last chance because demographically his country's running out of 18-year-olds, that they better do this shit now or they're never going to be able to do it. And so instead of having a plan, he just decided to pull the fucking ripcord and get this shit started. Even his foreign minister didn't understand. His foreign spy chief was fucking surprised that they were going into Ukraine. It caught him completely off guard. That's not what you want when your foreign spy head is going to be coordinating intelligence on the fucking battlefield. But nobody cares because everybody hopes that Ukraine just fails so Putin can win because Chris Hedges just wants his RT show back.
Consequences are really dangerous for this.
This is what happens when somebody calls somebody a banana head on my show. I hope you're happy.
Stability of Europe. I mean, cutting off Russian. You can't talk about war if you don't talk about markets, which I also write about in this column.
Oh, so we're doing it exactly right. By having sanctions, you cut off those markets, and then eventually that will starve the beast, and they won't have the funds to be able to carry out war, and then Ukraine doesn't have those kind of limitations, and they might actually win again. Gee, Jimmy looks kind of proud and confused and stupid, and he's just, at this point, I think he's just staring.
They want to stop...
then blinking. A little bit of blinking.
Russian oil shipments to...
Europe.
Because then Europe's got to buy from the U.S. at much.
No, they don't. They're getting their natural gas from fucking Qatar. They're buying it from other places. We're telling Venezuela to put more up. Do you pay attention to anything that might push back against your thought form at all? I don't understand why you don't read the news when it blows a hole in your argument. Ha ha.
Much higher prices. All of Silicon Valley, U.S. manufacturers, although of course most everything is produced in China.
No, it isn't. No, it fucking isn't. As a matter of fact, those chips you're talking about are produced in Silicon Valley. Yeah, I know you think just the companies are there, but that's a bunch of bullshit. A lot of them are made in South Korea, the United States, and Taiwan. That's the three biggest producers of high quality chips in the fucking country. By volume, a bunch of them are produced in China, but they all suck. They're the kind you find in a wind-up toy, asshole.
There are heavy restraints in terms of their access to the Chinese market. So there's a great hostility towards the Chinese Communist Party. And they certainly are stupid enough to think the threat of war might be a mechanism to open up those markets. It's very clear that the...
Huh? The fuck are you talking about? Everybody's getting out of China, you dweeb.
In their vision, the idea is to take down Russia, and then they're going to take down China.
Yes.
And it's.
Yeah, totally. That's exactly what's happening. And by the way, obviously they've got somebody working on the inside taking China down by the, I mean, obviously Henry Kissinger was involved in the Shanghai lockdowns and now the Tianjin lockdowns and the fucking Beijing lockdowns and the zero COVID policy and the dipshit 3 lines policy that ruined the entire, the economic structure of the fucking country because it was based 30% on goddamn real estate.
It's, of course, insanity and dangerous. I mean,
it's also a cartoon. It's fiction. Don't ask me how I know.
Incredibly dangerous. But and we just got a whole public relations display by Biden, where he's invited Japan and South Korea to the NATO meeting in Madrid. He's trying to create a kind of NATO pact in the Indo-Pacific. It's nuts.
It's just. Why would we want other countries that have solid democracies, good workers' rights, and don't have genocidal slave camps? Why would we want to do business with them instead of China? I mean, it's so much cheaper.
But it feeds the coffers of the war industry,
no, it doesn't. It has nothing to do with the coffers of the war industry, fucko. I'm getting into salty cupcake land here.
Once again, making more money than they know what to do with, and of the paid political class and the paid pundits who serve their interests are.
Look, just because you're broke and you used to work for Russia, you were a paid pundit for Russia, and now you lost your job, doesn't mean everybody else does it just for the money. Some of us just do it to have a little skin in the game.
Are parroting what it is they want the public to hear, but it's exceedingly dangerous. Look, I mean, these people, Biden, the Clintons, all of them.
The lizard people, Huma Abedin, I read all about them.
Have no business running the country. I mean,
no, it's not like they. Wait a minute. Clinton isn't running the country. Wait a second. What? She was like Biden was elected. It's a democracy. So if he has no business running the country, who does?
I mean,
Trump?
They've destroyed the country.
Oh, I see. I didn't realize the country was destroyed. That's why you moved somewhere else? Yeah, see? That's why Jackson Hinkle has a Soviet flag next to his name on that tweet that's still stuck up there for some fucking reason. That's why Jimmy moved out of Los Angeles, because he's just sick of the authoritarianism from the Democratic Party.
Ralph Nader calls them traitors. He's not wrong. They're traitors.
To who? To China and Russia?
But they perpetuate themselves, and they do it, and they know the growing unpopularity. They do it by essentially shutting out third parties. As you know, I work with...
Oh, for fuck's sake. I knew I was going to get tired of this. Bye. There's only so much that I can take before I gotta take a break from the Jimmy Dore bullshit and racist show. A little anti-Semitism goes a long way. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.